Hello, everyone, and welcome in to another episode of the TakeCast. Davis Mattek joined for the first time on my YouTube channel by one Mr. Pat Mayo. Great guy. I mean, Pat, I feel like you have this sense when I'm having trouble coming up with a guest. I had a couple people lined up this week, but it just didn't work out time-wise. You have a great sense of sliding in to my DMs or text messages when I don't have a guest lineup. So I extra appreciate you this week.
I always appreciate it from the other end too. People think it would be somewhat annoying, but it's not. Like having a guest lined up, especially when you don't have one, it's like, oh my God, this is great.
No, let's all of my friends out here I've said this before on the show, but if you are ever thinking like, oh, I want to promote this thing, or I've got this idea that I really want to talk about, and that, maybe it's not a great fit for my DFS live stream or whatever, please slide in my DMs. I'll tell you no if I think it's a bad idea. So don't feel that I will feel obligated. But yeah, I mean, Pat, it is a great feeling when someone's like, hey, can I do your show? It's the best.
Unfortunately, I'm not the one who comes with an idea. I'm just like, yeah, I'm available if you have an idea.
And I do. I've got a little topic list for us here. I do have a hard out today, so this is not going to be like some of the 2.5-hour shows that Pat and I have done in the past. But I am a new convert to entrepreneurship, to doing my own thing. And let me tell you one thing that I am admiring in a lot of other creators, but really realizing getting behind the scenes is the value of a YouTube view versus a podcast download. I mean, Pat, it is unbelievable how much more any marketing company or brand deal or whatever, YouTube is so far and away above podcasts right now.
I would swing back the other way. I find that, and maybe it's because so much more of my audience is audio versus video, that podcast downloads are way more profitable for me.
Well, you also get a shit ton of podcast downloads. Like,
that's
I
what
would
I mean.
imagine.
Yeah.
Yes. So, but if you could choose 1-to-1, if you could say, I get a metric fuck ton of podcast downloads, or I have a 100,000 view YouTube video, you totally choose the YouTube video.
I wouldn't know. Like so I guess it comes down to like, who's the better customer for you? Like, who's a more engaged person? So I guess it really depends on where you start. I started on audio. So much of my core audience is audio versus video. And I do have a very good subset of people who are like hardcore video watchers as well. Like I don't want to say I don't appreciate that, but you very rarely get the skimming out audio listener. You get a lot of skimming out video viewers because it's more searchable.
Oh, 100%.
So yes. the actual like 1v1, like having, let's say, 10,000 YouTube videos versus 10,000 audio downloads, those 10,000 audio downloads are just more engaged people to your show. Like they're there for the long haul, generally speaking.
No, so that's actually so true. And I should think about that, because obviously, like, this podcast, the TakeCast, does way better. I mean, I just started putting it on YouTube, but it's like so much larger on podcast downloads than it is on YouTube right now. And I mean, the way I consume YouTube, I assume it's the same way a lot of other people. I very rarely watching a whole video. Very rarely am I making it through an hour or 2 hours or whatever of a YouTube video. But if I start a podcast, that podcast is getting finished. Like, no chance am I not making it to the end of a podcast.
I'm with you, and those are my consumption habits. But I just got back from North Carolina. I was in Greensboro for the Wyndham Championship, and they invited some Underdog partners down. That's why I went, and we got to hang in the booth. So it was like me and Rick were there, and like Rick and I are right around the same age. We have a very similar demo talking about golf. He doesn't talk about football anymore, but just the age range of our viewership and listenership is very much in the same boat. We always kind of joked for years, like, maybe we should just kind of like team up, because we're just taking away from each other at a certain point, because we have so much crossover that why divide people? Let's bring them together. And then we were like, now let's keep doing our own things. But I met with they also brought in a bunch of TikTok people or Instagram reel people. And I was talking to them. They're all like 23 or 24. And it's just so different. Like the consumption of the audience. Like, one guy was telling me like his audience is between like 14 and 21. I was like, yeah, how valuable is a 14-year-old on TikTok? He's like, not very.
Not very. Yeah,
but
14-year-olds don't have any money, and 14-year-olds can't sign up for Underdog.
41-year-old golf dude from outside of Minneapolis who listens to the Pat Mayo Experience during golf season. Very valuable customer to advertisers, as it turns out.
Yeah, I mean that's the money range that all advertisers want, almost regardless of their product or whatever, is they want dudes between 25 and 45 because those are people who I mean, I include myself in that. I mean, do you know how many dumb things I have bought from Instagram and from YouTube that being like directly marketed to? Like I succumb to marketing easier than like any person I know, Pat. I am a very valuable customer.
It's not just you, it's everyone. You don't think I've
No, for
made really
sure.
stupid, like, I'll get as my wife and I, she has the Amazon account and it's all like linked up to like the same card. So I'll get an email if she orders something off Amazon. Like we'll be into like bed together going to sleep. She'll get like a targeted ad. Then I just get like a notification through my email. It's like, oh yeah, just purchased from Amazon. I was like, yeah, makes sense. I mean, I do the same thing.
I mean, that is that's real marriage stuff. I mean, everyone who's married or in a long-term relationship with their partner is so familiar with getting the Amazon email and you look over at your partner and you're like, what did you just buy? I mean, that's real. That is real. That's real marriage stuff. I mean, and I'm just as guilty of it, but it's like it's one of those things where you know the algorithm is targeting you, but you can't do anything about it. Like what
Well,
it's like, yeah, sure.
well, I've sort of had the, I mean, idea for years that people get very upset about targeted ads, but they're putting stuff in front of me that I do want. Like that's better than me not like seeing things that I don't want that I'm never going to buy from their perspective. At least from my perspective, like, yeah, I could use that. I'd buy that.
I kind of like being targeted, honestly. Like the targeted ads on YouTube in between like a lot of like the lift like Chris Bumstead and Sam Sulik's videos. I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what I want. Like I have a real practical use for this product or like the Huberman Lab, same thing. Like I'm like I would have not bought that on my own, but now that I know that it exists, I want it, I need it, I got to purchase it. And I mean that's one of the things that YouTube is so good at. The YouTube algorithm. There's no algorithm related in the podcast. You know, you get served the advertisements that are on the podcast, which by the way, the McCole Hardman speeding ad, I mean, truly an all-timer, Pat. I mean,
It's great.
it's phenomenal. I love it.
Sometimes it plays back to back during my show. I don't know how that happens.
It is the perfect mix of your audience knows who McCole Hardman is. They kind of think of McCole Hardman in like a very comical way because McCole Hardman has had a comical NFL career. So him just popping up in the middle of, you know, British Open Championship telling you not to speed. It's unbelievable.
Do you think he had to have that talk with his teammate, Rashee Rice?
Oh god, that's the extra layer. That's the extra added bit about it. That is so funny. That's funny you said that because it was the first thing I thought of was what if Rashee Rice got contracted to do this commercial? Because I'm sure it's the same guy who like went to the Chiefs facility or whatever, and then Rashee Rice ends up being in this crazy speeding incident.
I mean, that actually makes more sense that it would have been Rice in the first place, because why the hell would McCole Hardman be on this?
Well, I would imagine McCole Hardman has a lower fee these days to do any kind. Like I'm sure the fee his agent is asking for is going to be lower than most Chiefs players.
I would agree, but this seems to be somewhat of like a public service announcement as well. Like it's not, hey, come shill this random product. It's, hey, tell people the government is coming to you. Be like, hey, tell people not to speed. Like speeding's bad. I feel like that's a lower rate for everyone.
So this is actually related to the YouTube algorithm, the Instagram algorithm stuff, because YouTube actually is basically the biggest search engine in the world now. Most people, myself included, you need to know something. You want to know how to do something. A lot of the times you're going to go to YouTube before Google now because Google sucks. Like the results you get on Google now are terrible. Like I know this from searching for fantasy football stuff. Like, oh, I'm trying to figure out, you know, who the Jacksonville Jaguars third string running back is or whatever. I'm trying to find some data and you can't find it because the search is so bad now. The hope for Chat GPT has been that it replaces this. It's far off from there. But I've been wondering this. Do you know any normal person, just like any you're out, you know, you're at the bar, whatever. Do you know any normie, non-Twitter person who either uses Chat GPT or honestly even knows how to use it, like would even know what to do with it?
No is the answer. No, I don't know anyone who really uses it. I mean, I have friends that have dabbled in it just because, like, hey, what's Chat GPT? Let me go try this out. And then they never went back. I'm in the same boat as that. I've used it like, 20 times and then I just forget about it, never go back. Most people I know have either used the Twitter one, like Grok,
Grok.
or the AI Meta through Facebook. Like that's how like normal people, especially the Facebook one, that's how like older people, normal people are getting their access to AI. Like Cust uses the Facebook one.
What does he use it for?
I don't know, just to ask it stupid questions.
There is this I've seen this a lot. There is this thing happening on Facebook where apparently there's like it's like a content mill being run by these dudes from India, and it's just the worst, dumbest AI generated art, and they'll post it with these like awful captions, like pictures like this never trend, and it'll be like a fake dolphin. It's the worst AI art you can imagine, but
I
it like
it,
generates thousands of dollars.
it's funny that you mentioned that because someone reposted that I logged on the other day, and that was the first thing that came up. It's like you never see pictures like this get shared, and
Exactly.
it was
Yes.
it was two it was a man and woman who were married, both in army fatigues with their two children in army fatigues, and the real American hero couple. But like the kid had 7 fingers, like AI art does not have fingers down at all, or the lettering down at all. I was like, who would look at this and think this is real? But apparently, like most people.
Like most people have no ability to differentiate between what is what. It's and the AI art is terrible. So I thought, oh, like okay, I'm doing my own thing. I'm gonna be doing YouTube. Like, oh, maybe it can generate thumbnails for me. Nope, not even close. Like, not even could I say like, oh, this is good enough. Like it's really really bad. It can't even do the most basic like I saw Josh Weinstein post this the other day, the old Simpsons writer. He was like, I tried to get AI to make a picture of a hamburger, and all the instructions were lettuce is the worst thing in the world. Lettuce will kill me. I can't have lettuce on a hamburger. Please show me a hamburger without lettuce. And it was like literally a lettuce burger. It's so funny because the thing obviously that it's reminding me of is NFTs, where the people who are really into AI are like, this is going to change your life. It's incredible. I got all wrapped up in the NFT thing. I cannot get wrapped up in this AI thing because it does not fucking work at all. It just really doesn't work.
I see more of a practical application for society of
Completely.
AI where it's at. And I mean, listen, I swung and missed on Bitcoin. You were correct about that. I nailed it out of the park with NFTs when we were talking about
Correct.
it. Like, what a
Yes.
fucking sham.
Yeah. Complete sham. If
But you
you
actually
have,
made money on NFTs. So I don't see how you're so down on NFTs.
well, because I'm ideologically committed to the ideas behind Bitcoin and NFTs. NFTs were just a total. It was all a scam. Like no one believed in it.
How much did you sell that Tyler Hero Top Shot for? Like 30
Thirty
grand?
thousand dollars. Thirty
How much?
thousand dollars USD.
3 or 30?
30.
So you're the big winner in NFTs.
I'm one of the people that won on NFTs, but man, it was just all it was all horrible. It was all cringy. And there, it's kind of happening again right now with not with NFTs, but with meme coins, which are basically just NFTs like without the picture, but it's all very stupid. But AI is like, Sam Altman thinks he's going to change the world. There was this big long article that came out the other day about how what's the parent? I think OpenAI is the name of the parent company, but like basically there's no possible way that even like 12 months from now, if this is their business model, that they're going to be able to pay for it. That basically it would have to be the largest fundraising in the history of the world for them to keep paying for all of the energy to power these very dumb AI generation things. So it's like something in it is going to have to change. Either it's going to die or it's going to have to massively change to continue to exist.
It seems like this would have been something that would have worked out better in a beta testing phase for 5 to 10 years until they could actually refine it and then release it to the public. And then if there were hiccups in it, you could work backwards from there, but at least you'd be closer. But it did seem like the ability to go first to the market, especially as OpenAI and not Google or not Meta, could kind of force their hand as well to get this stuff out publicly, that it just Where it doesn't work so much, I don't know if people are going to be completely disenfranchised from it because, hey, I used it. It didn't work. What a piece of shit this is. Versus if they had released it 5 years from now and it was, I don't know, 1,000% better than it is now, which would mean that it's not like perfect by any means, but far more functional and worked better for what you were looking for. Then all of a sudden, I think that it would have an easier acceptance from people. But to kind of swing back to like the AI art generation, I just, do people really think these are real pictures? Like,
Yes.
I wonder about this because it's usually old. Like my grandparents get fooled by it all the time. What age do we get to where we're the marks all of a sudden? Like, is it
I mean,
50? Is it 60? Because it's gonna happen to us. So I don't want to be
it's
like
gonna
too
happen to us.
critical.
I mean, it's already like I'm sure you've had these experiences where you already realize you're not cool anymore. Like whatever's
I figured
happening
that
with
out a
you.
long time ago, pal.
Yeah, like so I've had a couple like vacations and things where like we've been out, we've been to bars and stuff, and I'm like all the clothes that these kids are wearing, like the music it's like none of this is me. I am not cool anymore. I'm so far away from cool. And once you realize you're not cool, the next step is reposting pictures of an AI generated dolphin stuck in a soda can rings or whatever on Facebook. It's really it's point A to point B. We're not there yet, but there are going to be things that are happening on the internet 5 years from now that like we literally cannot understand. Like there's nothing we can do with it.
I mean, there's a couple things on the internet right now that I just glossed over. It's like I don't know what this is. I'm moving on.
Which is it's kind of like the old Bill Simmons bit of like there's only so many sports that you can keep up with. Like some sports you just have to like drop. Like that's the thing with the internet. It's like I actually just am not going to learn what this is about. I'm not going to learn how to use it. I'm not going to learn how to deal with it. I'm going to move on and keep in my lane. I don't have time. I don't have time to do all of it. And honestly, ChatGPT is kind of like that for me. Like I have the account. I paid for ChatGPT Plus or whatever because I wanted to try and use it. But even the things I've tried to use it for that people say it works for, like people say it works for like coding or it can do spreadsheets for you if you feed it all the information. So I tried to do a spreadsheet in it. I gave it all the information. I gave it like the player IDs and stuff. It was a fantasy football thing, and it couldn't even do that. I mean, it could just like a pretty simple spreadsheet. Maybe I was giving it the wrong instructions, but it was not working.
So I think you may have been because my brother is someone. I mean, he became like an IT guy in like 1998, like a specialized school for it. So he's been working building back ends of pretty big websites for a very long time. And when I went to go visit him last year, he lives in Newport Beach. And like he had a big TV set up and he was just like stuff was running on his TV. Like, what the hell are you doing? He's like, oh, I'm working. I don't know if he was what system that he was using. But he's like, yeah, I don't need to code anymore. I can just like give my code to this and it will do
To
everything
yeah,
for me. He's like, I have to check it to make sure that it's fine. But he's like, it saves me. He's like, instead of having to work 50 hours a week, I can work like 3 hours a week now.
I have heard that. I have heard a lot of it can replace your job as a coder. I've also heard a lot of oh, all these executives in Hollywood think that they're going to be able to replace writers and animators with AI. I mean, let me tell you, if that's really their plan, if the reason that a lot of these shows are getting cut, a reason that a lot of animation is getting cut, if that happens, there's going to be some 0 out of 10 content coming because anything creative ChatGPT cannot do well. It's pretty bad.
Some people would say that there's a lot of 0 out of 10 content being released
Oh,
already from non
absolutely.
AI generated stuff. So what's the
Yes.
difference?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that's definitely true. I'm always for the creatives getting paid. I personally would not be that interested in the AI that exists now creating content. Now, if AI gets way better, don't get me wrong. I am not that ideological of a consumer. Like if the AI content gets that much better and the animation looks really good and the writing is fine and the voices don't sound like, we've all heard those AI generated voice things on short form content. If it all gets way better and I like it and it's like a great new Batman or Star Wars or something, like I'm going to watch it. I'm not going to be that ideologically opposed to it.
I saw that Star Wars series got canceled.
Yeah, it wasn't very good. I mean, that's the Acolyte did get canceled, and of course, this is such a 2024 thing where it's all about the culture wars, and the people who wanted it to get canceled are saying like, oh, it was such a leftist Marxist reading of Star Wars, and then the people who are upset it got canceled is like, oh, it's because Disney is so conservative, and the writer tried to do this amazing uh diverse story, and like that, none of that is true. The idea that it was a Marxist Star Wars is wrong, and the idea that the reason it was not successful was because it was woke is also wrong. It just was not very good. I mean, it just, you want to talk, and not 0 out of 10, but maybe like 4 out of 10. Like I'm about as big of a Star Wars person as you're gonna find, and it left like no impression on me.
So I mean, I had never seen it, but I read something about it this morning, and someone had made the point to me that Star Wars, the franchise, is essentially like U2 after U2 got big, that they stopped making music for anyone and they started making music for no one, that
Yeah,
it wasn't geared to any one person anymore, therefore no one liked it anymore.
100%.
And Star Wars kind of seems the same way. Like, just go back to making shit for kids. Like,
I
that's what it is. Bad
really
guys versus good guys. Like, just leave it at that and people seem to like it.
Yes. No, like if you want to tell a more complex type story or whatever, like Andor, it was like a prestige drama inside of the Star Wars universe. You've got to hire someone who's really good at doing it. Tony Gilroy has like all these incredible accomplishments. He's written great movies. I believe he's even done like some documentaries. Like he just is very good at it. But if you're gonna hire Leslie Headland, who has like no accomplishments, like very light, it's like it's not gonna turn out well. So yeah, just I think the issue is they are trying to kind of generate too much new interest instead of just playing the hits. I feel like if the powers that be, the creatives, just played the hits and kind of gave very similar vibes to the original trilogy, I think it would be successful. And I want them to try new stuff with Star Wars because I'm a huge Star Wars nerd, but I don't expect that to be super successful over like a wide audience.
Well, why was what was the Mandalorian? Why was that one seemingly so successful?
Because it didn't have anything to do with Luke Skywalker, Darth Vader. It was like a totally new story. Pedro Pascal was really good. The little alien guy was very cute. Like not even like, you just don't even have to think that deep about it. It was like just kind of an interesting story. Bounty hunter television shows always do well. Like think of like some of the your favorite shows. Like a lot of them are like
Dog the
bounty
Bounty
hunter.
Hunter? Yeah, I know.
Yeah, they're just good. They're just good shows. So, and it was like pretty simple. You didn't need a ton of lore. You didn't need to have watched 9 shows and read a novel before it started to understand what was going on. That was why it was so good.
So I think you've kind of hit on it right there. That there's not enough passive TV anymore. And for ages, like we all
Horrible.
complain that there's too much passive TV. And that's why prestige TV became such a thing.
Yeah.
So when, Oz and Sopranos and The Wire came along, they were not shows that you could be on your phone for. You needed to watch them. You could watch Criminal Minds all that you wanted, or like we talked about this in the past, I'm rewatching, finishing off Elementary again. I rewatched House and all these different shows.
Is
I
is
can like
elementary good? That's
yeah, it's not
the
bad.
that's the
I,
they
I
have
like
a
Johnny Lee Miller because I love Train Spotting. I like Lucy Liu. Aiden Quinn's in it from The Cutting Edge.
I was gonna say, don't
So
they
yeah,
have a lady playing Sherlock? Isn't that
yeah,
it?
it's Lucy Liu.
I love that. I mean, I
There you
love
go.
Sherlock Holmes. All right, Elementary on my list for
Yeah,
passive TV.
easy digestible show. You can watch 3. You can watch half of one. Doesn't really matter. You can tell who does it within the first 10 minutes. Like, oh, I know that person from a different show. They did it.
Yeah, I mean, I love that. My favorite passive TV is Batman cartoons, like Batman the animated series, Batman. You watch Batman Beyond
From like the 90s.
from like the 90s.
Yeah, I probably
Oh,
watched it like 20 years ago. That's with the Mark.
so
Was that with
that's
Mark Hamill as the Joker?
if Batman the animated series is Mark Hamill the Joker, Batman Beyond is a different show. It's set in like this 90s vision of the future, and Bruce Wayne is like 70 and retired, and he has this young kid get in the suit. This is the thing I'm passively watching while I'm drafting best ball teams right now, like before bed. I'll just kind of put it on in the background and draft best ball teams. But yeah, I mean, give me more passive television. I think that's why people like YouTube. Really, I think that is kind of it, because it's good passive entertainment, and you don't have to feel bad if there's nothing to miss. You just kind of phase in and out as you like.
To swing back to the point is that
Yes.
we complained forever about all these network shows and how passive they were, and like, look at all these good shows on cable. And they were right. The shows on cable were much better than the shows on
Yeah.
network TV. But then everything kind of became cable, and even the procedural or passive TV shows felt the need to be somewhat prestigey, and they did like elevate that concept a lot better. And those shows went from being like a 6 out of 10 to a 7.5 out of 10, which just made them closer to the very high end prestige shows. And like that middle ground wasn't as wide anymore. And there were more prestige shows coming out at the same time. So it's just really clouded everything. Like, what's a really great show that's on TV right now? Like, people really like The Bear. It's okay. It's
It's
fine.
okay. Yeah.
Like, it's not as good as that type of show would have been 15 years ago, it feels like.
That is a good question. What is like really, really good right now? I don't know. I don't know if I could say anything. The thing I'm looking forward to, kind of in quotes, is like I don't even expect it to be that good. But Rings of Power season 2 comes out in, I believe, 6 days, and I kind of expect it to make me mad. Like, I kind of expect it to be bad. It's gonna look really good. It's gonna be. I think they're spending like $1 billion a season, so it's gonna look. I guess House of the Dragon is that. I am not a watcher, but I think people like that.
I watched season one. It was bad. Like, bad is, and that's the thing. It's not bad. It's just not really good. So I watched episode one of season two, and I was like, "Hey, this is just not for me." I heard it got better in season two. People seemed to come around to it, but just wasn't for me.
Which is fine. Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't know.
not
Like
everything
I,
has
I'm
to
all,
be for me. I understand that.
and that's the thing with Rings of Power, is it's supposed to be for me, and if I don't like it, that means that it's really bad. Um, so I'm hoping that we're able to avoid that. All right, kind of buried the lead of like the number one thing that I was interested to get your take on. We have
The
not
Olympics?
talked. No, no. Well, I mean the Olympics. I've got takes on the Olympics, but what do Canadians think of what's going on in the American election right now? Since the last time we talked, Trump got shot in the ear. Joe Biden said, I'm running for president. Then it turns out he's not running for president. He doesn't have a press conference or anything. He literally just tweets it out that he's not running and that he is endorsing Kamala Harris. JD Vance, like the weirdest guy alive, is now the vice presidential candidate for the Republicans. And then this high school football coach is the vice presidential candidate for the Democrats. Like, what, as from a Canadian perspective, like, what do you think of all of this?
I really tuned it all out, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people, even to talk to people down in the States, like when I was down there, feels like a lot of them have tuned it out as
No,
well.
no one cares right now. Like,
Like, it's
the
just a,
caring levels are so low.
it feels like this election is going to be just decided by pure vibes. That no one really cares about policy at this point. It's just like, yeah, I like this person or I don't like this person, because it doesn't seem like Harris. Or, I mean, what's his name? What's his last name? Walls. That's his
Walls,
name.
Coach Walls. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know anything about him, which is kind of. I think that's why he's on the ticket. Like, he
It's
seems
kind
like
of
a
the
real
point.
good guy.
Yeah, it's kind of the point. It's like the rumor was that this guy from Pennsylvania, Josh Shapiro, was going to be the pick, and then Walls basically kind of went he kind of went viral. He kind of just took the situation on his own by just calling JD Vance weird, and everyone seemed to like that because JD Vance is a weird guy.
But
And
look, it was JD Vance always a weird guy?
no, I
Because it
think
seems
JD
like in a different era, if he didn't get himself attached to Trump, because he was pretty anti-Trump at the beginning, right?
he called Trump Hitler like 3 years ago.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
if he waits this cycle out and comes in as the guy after Trump, I feel like people would really like him.
But how do you, if you are JD Vance, if you are a 40-something-year-old politician, how do you say no to, I mean, at the time that Trump asked him to be the vice presidential
They
candidate,
were going to win.
betting markets had Trump as like a 60-40 favorite. Like, how do you say, you can't possibly say no to that, I don't think.
I agree. Like, you do it because you're, what, 42 years old and you get to be vice president. And it looks like a lock and then everything flips.
Yeah, I mean, also the thing is I feel like a lot of like I feel like maybe 10 years from now there will be a conservative politician who's kind of young right now who said, I'm not going to do the Trump thing. Like, I'm not going to be a weirdo. I'm just going to be like a normal American conservative. And I feel like that guy is going to crush. I don't know who it is. I'm not well versed enough to know like who the lieutenant governor of Louisiana is, but I feel that a non-mega conservative guy is going to be able to distance himself from that and distance himself from all the identity politics on the left, and just like 10 years from now, like crush a general election.
Maybe. I mean, it feels like Nikki Haley was positioning herself to do that, and she still is positioned to do that.
She fumbled it. She fumbled it too. She did the same thing Vance did. She bent the knee.
No, yeah, I mean, I think there's a difference between, I mean, Vance bent the knee to join the ticket. Nikki
Right.
Haley, I mean, she probably would have accepted if he had offered it to her. I don't know if he did
Well,
or not.
she's angling to be like the secretary of something, I'm sure.
Maybe, but I think being involved in the cabinet, and like it's no different than when Hillary joined Obama's cabinet. It's not like they're the best of friends, but
Right.
I mean that gets you into a position of power to have influence within the government. I don't think that people see that as much as joining joining the team kind of thing. Like being vice president directly links you. Like Mike Pence is never going to outlive that. What was the first Secretary of State? Rex Tillerson? Like no one's like, yeah, Rex Tillerson and Trump, good pals. Like no,
Right.
he just wanted to be Secretary of State. Like why not?
Well, it's a very strange thing in American politics for a president to run for reelection and for basically no one who was in his cabinet originally to run it back with him. That is very strange.
So
But
I think that by positioning herself, I don't know if it's going to last like to the next cycle. Like if Trump ends up winning or losing, if he ends up winning, it's just pure craziness. But I think that Democrats are a bit too high on their horse at this point, not realizing that the election is not tomorrow. Like there's a lot of time where stuff can go wrong here for them, and people to really start like I don't know anything about Walls. Maybe he's a weirdo, and
well, people say he's a weirdo. Like his like the thing is he was a kind of middle of the road guy, but in a super lib state. So if you are a middle of the road guy in a super lib state, what that ends up meaning is that you pass a lot of policies that maybe wouldn't be on your presidential thing or whatever, but your super lib constituency votes for them or votes for candidates who want them is kind of my reading of the situation.
well, I mean, a lot of it has to do with where you're from as well, and what policies you're going to pass. A quote unquote liberal in a liberal state is going to be far more liberal than a liberal from Wyoming, kind of thing,
Right.
in terms of the policy that you pass. So you kind of have to dictate it that way. I think within Congress, he was actually representing like a conservative riding historically and was far more moderate when he became governor in a super lib state. Then obviously it's going to be a little bit different on that front. But just in terms of like vibes, seems like a nice guy. That's what you need right now.
And
Like,
it's a fucking vibes based election. Like if it was a policy based election, maybe he's the wrong choice because he is like some of the things they passed in Minnesota are probably too liberal for the normal American audience. But vibes based, he's like the most moderate guy alive.
it's a lot like Biden on the ticket in 2008.
Yeah, I mean
Like,
that's what
people are
people have
like
been
Joe
saying.
Biden, fun guy, because he's
Fun
not
guy.
84 years old at this point.
That is a sentiment that I've heard. I mean, I follow some guys who are big in the politics scene, or who have big thoughts on them. I honestly, this like my degree of caring about who the actual candidates are lowest it's ever been. Like I really don't care. I mean, I will vote just because like that was so embedded in me as a young, like Brian Hooper is listening to this and being like, you're a fucking idiot for voting. But yeah, like this is the most vibes based election in American history where it's just like, and you can even see it when you look on the odds on Polymarket. Like you
Okay,
can basically
why
just,
are we trusting the? Like, I see people reference Polymarket all the time. They've been fucking
yeah.
wrong about their odds the past 3 elections. People are like, well, look at their odds.
Uh, well, two things. The first thing is that Predict It used to be the one that people would reference, and Predict It was a lot harder to get money on. So like people would quote Predict It, and it would be like a $500 bet would move the odds. Right now, there is over $600 million wagered on Polymarket for these markets. So it's never been so large. There's never been so much money in the betting markets right now. And right now, as you and I are doing this, it's literally 50-50. 49.9 cents yes on Kamala, 48.7 on Don.
I mean, Harris should be leading by a lot more. And that's what if I was a Harris supporter, and that's also the point. I don't think there's a lot of Harris supporters.
There's no such thing.
There's your anti-Trump supporters who are backing her and are happy they have like a living candidate to run against Trump. And the juxtaposition of Biden versus Harris now makes Trump seem so fucking old, man. Like versus Biden, he seems spry.
Versus Biden, he was kind of like the fun,
Yeah.
Like he's cracking jokes. Like say whatever you want about Donald Trump. He is funny. Like he's hysterical.
Like did you
But
watch the Bryson video with him?
just the putts. Yeah, just the yeah. No, I
Yeah,
didn't watch it.
I mean, super libs who have never golfed really gave him shit about his putting because he wasn't making anything. It was like the stroke is weird, not a bad putter.
No,
Like
no,
good golf game.
Yeah.
Like we just assumed because he lies so much that he was lying about his golf game. And maybe he's over indexing himself a little bit, but for an 80-year-old dude, man, the guy fucking flushes it.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, imagine what my swing is going to be like when I'm 80. Probably
He's
not
better
that
than
good.
me now.
Well, he does have a lot of time to play. He does have a lot of time to play.
So do we.
Sadly, this is I am not great at prioritizing my time, and because I now am working, 10 hours a day for like the first time in my adult life, I am having trouble getting out. I mean, I've not to say I never golf. I've been playing about once a week, but my imagination for myself, Pat, was, oh, you're going to be self-employed. You're golfing 4 days a week. You're out there. You're going to the range every day, and that has not been the reality.
I go 2-3 times a week. Just before we get into golf, about walls, the thing
Yes.
that I will throw out that this is all anecdotally, and mainly the people that I'm talking to about this are the boomers at my golf course who I play with on Tuesday mornings.
Right.
Because I joined the senior men's day because I'm the only person my age who can take Tuesday morning off to play. And those are the only times that are open. So I play with a lot of these guys. They all hate Trump, all of them. Like Canadians, that makes more sense. Especially
That's kind of interesting.
Especially East Coast. Oh, yeah.
I would not have guessed that.
I mean, out west, it's probably different, just because politically being like,
Sure.
when I say out west, I mean in Alberta, not so much British Columbia. But
Right.
I mean, Walls has been pegged as the way that the Trump campaign is trying to promote Harris and Walls is like radical leftists. But Tim Walz just seems like a Canadian politician.
It's not. It's the painting them as radical leftist
is a wrong move, I think.
Yeah, I think it's bad. Also, I mean, Don, normally he's killing it with the nickname. Sleepy Joe, classic. Crooked Hillary, classic. Laughing Kamala, awful. About as bad as it. What was the other? He had Kamal Blah, Kablah, something like that. Also terrible. He's got to step it up. This is supposed to be his calling. He's got to be better.
Yeah. But Tim Walz seems like and I've been to Minnesota so many times. It's one of my favorite places to visit in America. I love Minneapolis. I mean, St. Paul's don't go to St. Paul too much. Play some golf in St. Paul. That's about it. But Minneapolis is great. And just being in Minneapolis feels like being in Canada. Like it's very logical for Canadians to like that because it seems very familiar.
Right. Yeah.
Where like the Donald Trump type doesn't really fit in to like the Canadian polity at all. If that makes any sense. Like it makes sense that Donald Trump is American, not Canadian. Put it that way. Where Tim Walz could be like secretly be from Ontario.
I would buy that. He just seems like that vibe to me. Okay. Did you watch the Olympics outside of the golf? Any part of it? Did you feel proud as Canadian? Do you even care? Do you feel more like American and things like that because you do American sports media?
I mean, I've never really cared that much about the Olympics. I actually when I wrote for Sportsnet magazine about 15 years ago, when that was still a thing, I got a column canceled in Sportsnet magazine that I wrote about how Canada is the country of losers and we need to really step up our game and maybe I was the one who had it wrong. And it was a long time ago. I was like 24 years old and I thought it was, such a provoking thought, like you do when you're younger, that you think everything's really important. Yes. But it was always my contention that we were bad at the Olympics because we were we were very happy to promote people who came in 16th place, but they had their personal best. It's like, we don't need to hear from these people. And Canadian television still does it, where like you'll watch TSN and they'll show the golf leaderboard. It'll be like Hideki first, Xander second, Victor T second, Pendrith T35 is like the next name on the board. So it always makes it seem like Canadians are doing better than they are, that we should really have put an emphasis on making the podium, coming first place. And they actually did that in 2010 for the Vancouver Olympics. Like they offer these big prizes for anyone who got gold medals. And what was it? The best Olympics we've ever had. That we prioritized winning and didn't promote all these people that were just kind of happy to be there in sports where they had no chance. So that's always been kind of my problem with the Olympics. I just always wanted us to be better at it, which is tough having a tenth of the population of America. How are we supposed to compete in that? But we have certain things like, why is Norway so good at, like, they have certain events where they're going to be good at, just like any country. And we should theoretically have things in the Summer Olympics we should be awesome at. Like any water sport, we should be the best at in the world. Shouldn't even be close. All we have here is water.
That's true. The Canadian men's basketball team, unbelievable. I was rooting for them. I was rooting for the Canadian.
They were terrible. Jamal Murray sucked.
Well, that is the issue, is that they should be much better. They should be much better than they were. I was rooting for them because it's like, the U.S. men, do they really need me to root for them? Like, sure. Like the thing, I root for them, or I was rooting for them because two of their players are starters for my favorite basketball team, Dort and Shea. So they have that going for them. They're much better at soccer too. They have like a very competent soccer team now internationally, which is like, they might even, like, I would say they're probably better than the U.S. men right now, which is
I never understand the U.S. men's team at all. Like people get like super invested into it, and I always think it says Ninja Turtles as the I have like when I see the like shortened.
Oh, the USMNT.
Yeah, I just read that as Ninja Turtles every time. Like, what the fuck is this?
I don't know if I read it as Ninja Turtles, but I kind of hate that accurate as well. Yeah, the U.S. men soccer team, they're just brutal. I mean, I have gotten excited about the U.S. men's national team like twice in my life, and it was terrible. Like, it sucks. It's just like no one in the country cares. It's not structured right. It's an absolute joke. We should be like the fifth best team in the world. We're not. No one internally has any vested interest in changing it. It's terrible. Like to me, if Don or whatever politician, if someone runs on fixing U.S. men's soccer, I'll vote for you because it's such an easy fix. You know how fucking embarrassing it is for us to be bad at soccer. It's so embarrassing.
I mean, that's the thing. Americans don't think it's embarrassing to be bad at soccer. Some from them probably wear it as like a badge of honor. Like I never cared if Canadian soccer was good or not. I would hope that they would be good.
Would you be embarrassed if you were bad at hockey? Would you be like, this sucks?
Yeah, but
yeah,
hockey to Canadians is not soccer to Americans.
No,
it'd be like if Americans were bad at football. That's the equivalency.
We did do bad at flag football, which is interesting. There's some element of they're going to be doing flag football at the LA Olympics. I don't know what exactly that is, but I really hope NFL players can play. Like I hope Jalen Hurts, like I hope it's like co-ed or something. So like Jalen Hurts is like completing passes to Asia Wilson or something. Like just give me the most fun combination of some NFL players getting to play in the flag football.
I would guess it probably works like the 3-on-3 basketball where you need to be like qualify for it.
Which is again annoying, which is like was such an annoying thing because the people were like, why are the US men not dominating at 3-on-3 basketball? And it was because there is like a points qualification system or whatever.
And Jimmer got hurt, didn't he?
I was not that locked in because the point was for me was that I actually did not watch a ton of these Olympics. Like normally I've watched a lot of it. My wife really likes the swimming, so we watch that. But outside of that, I watched the medal round games of the basketball, but I didn't really care that much this year.
Yeah, I mean, I never really care about it, but I always have it on as background type stuff. Like if I'm jogging on the treadmill, it'll just like be on while I listen to something. I guess Canadian wise, Summer McIntosh was the one who like did the best rush. He won 3 gold swimming, which is pretty good. I feel like there's too many medals in swimming and in track.
So this is a great point. Is that ESPN or whatever will do their list of greatest athletes of all time, and all these swimmers will be included. But it's because they get medals for just doing the same thing for either a slightly different distance or same distance, but a slightly different stroke, like a slightly different way. Like if you're the greatest, like LeBron James can only win a medal one time, like that for one thing. And like Michael Phelps can go to the Olympics and win like 9 medals. And also the records change all the time. Like I believe none of Phelps's records that he set still stand. There might be still one that's left, but I believe none of his world records still stand, which is like, yeah, there are too many fucking medals for swimming.
But people but swimming draws.
People
So
like it.
the
Yes.
more swimming you can have on, the better. I mean, it did feel like there was a better vibe around this Olympics, is what I will say. Like people seem to be a bit more engaged, and there was something comforting about it. Maybe it's because it was in Paris. It was pretty well produced. It was back in a time zone that everyone can like kind of watch live if they wanted to. They had really nice weather the entire time. I thought the golf was great.
The golf was all right. I mean, I don't know. I couldn't get that into it.
I like
Uh,
that course, and just the finish was awesome.
yes, it was. Okay, well, I'd one. Oh, I did have one last thing or two more things for us. We'll see how we're
Well, you
doing
want to talk
on.
about the Alien franchise, and I don't really have
I,
any takes on the like. You want to talk about Prometheus? I haven't seen Prometheus, so
okay, well, you should see Prometheus. You should
I hear
absolutely.
that, but I hear from other people it sucks.
That's the thing. People are wrong. People are. This is Pat. This is a case of people being too stupid. This is a case of this. I mean, this is like when someone tells you to watch some prestige drama that got like 2 seasons and no one's ever heard of, and it's buried on HBO Max and has like 7 fans that still exist. But it is very good. It's I don't know. I'm not gonna say it's one of my favorite movies, but it does feel like in an era where everything is franchises. Like that's all anything is. Like anything that comes out is a franchise or a sequel or a prequel. It feels like, and I think Alien Romulus, the one that just came out, is like doing pretty well. But it feels like Alien, like a super vintage brand. Like Alien was massive when it first came out, and it
And
feels like
Aliens is better than Alien.
as even yeah, they're all. I mean, I enjoy all of them, but
Do you really you enjoy Alien 3? Fincher's Alien? It's not good.
I maybe have not seen it because for me, I'm younger. I'm a younger generation. I like the new ones. Like these new ones that they've done, Prometheus and then the two that followed with Michael Fassbender. I'm like very intrigued by these movies. I think they're very good. But yeah, people did not like Prometheus. I think they're more into this one that just came out. I've not seen it yet.
Was it Carlton Cuse who wrote that?
Let
It was
me
the guy from
tell
Lost. It was
you.
one of the guys from Lost who did
That's
Prometheus.
that's probably that's probably why I liked it. I would imagine that is why I liked it. The writer was oh, this is not good radio. No, I don't think it was Carlton Cuse.
You
Ridley
sure?
Scott. Ridley Scott.
Directed it, but who wrote it?
All right, well now I got to find it.
He's just IMDb.
Co-written co-written by John Spade. Yeah, Lindelof. Okay, so the other
Oh,
one, not
Lindelof was the one who
Carlton
worked
Cuse.
on it.
So that would explain why I like it because Lost still remains to me one of the greatest television shows of all time.
I mean, I just rewatched from the rewatch that I always do with like 4 episodes left in season 3 through the end of the series. Yeah, kind of
How did that your most recent watch of season 6? What was your take?
not as bad. It's too long. Like, just get to the fucking point. Like, all the stuff in the temple is so bad.
Yeah,
Like, once, I mean, spoiler, once Desmond, like, light spoiler, I suppose. Once
light spoiler.
Desmond gets brought into season 6, it does get a lot better.
Desmond, a pantheon level television character,
Not,
in
I
my
mean, he's
opinion.
not even a character. He's a plot device. But at least the plot device that he provides in season 6 gets everything going in season 6. Like, everything that happens before it is just useless.
Yeah, I got no issue with that. I've spent a lot of time on this program and others telling people to watch that program. I mean, I think it's so good. It's probably my favorite TV show ever. Lost is, and so that would make sense why Prometheus got bad reviews or people don't like it, and it is probably my favorite of all of these movies.
It does seem like it's pretty split from what I've read about Prometheus, that people either really like it or they really don't.
Well, it's this totally fascinating concept of basically aliens starting the human race is like an experiment, like basically like a Truman Show style thing. Huge fan. That's your official media recommendation from this episode of the Take Cast is watch. I mean, watch all the Alien movies, but definitely watch Prometheus. And if you like it, tell me I'm a genius. And if you don't like it, you can tell me I'm an idiot.
Last thing from me, I mean,
Yeah.
I probably should have put this at the beginning of the show. Maybe you can include this into your intro when you do those things. Like my friend Pat Mayo is coming on, but I'm running an Underdog Pick'em League this year.
Sick.
Yeah,
Love it.
It's one of the main ideas I had when I went to Underdog. I think we've discussed this before. We don't have the rules smoothed out yet or the payouts. That's coming soon. But on my show or any of my YouTube videos, recent ones at least, I have a Google form. Maybe I can give you the Google form to put in the show notes for this. And you can mention, like, hey, hit the show notes. You just have to put in your email and your Underdog handle right now, and it'll register you for the league. There's nothing
Okay.
extra that you have to do, and then you'll figure out what the rules are.
Do you want me to just put this in the description of all my shows until the
Yeah,
season
if you
starts?
could, just promote it that way. I'll send you the Google Forms link. I think what it's going to boil down to is it'll calculate your pick 'em percentage over the course of the year, but you need to like probably make a minimum of like 10 or 15 picks a week or something like that. Probably 10. We're still kind of smoothing everything out about how to track this. And then there will just be like, you'll win your regular pick 'em if you win, but the contest itself will be not done on entries you win, but picks correct. So if you lose 2 5-bangers by going 4 for 5, 4 for 5, you're still at an 80% rate for this league.
I love that.
So
Yeah,
it's sort
I
of
mean,
like a super contest for Underdog pick'em props.
the last time this is sick because I'm gonna be doing a pick'em show on Friday afternoons on
So you mean after we talked about doing it for me, you're just going to do it for you now?
Yeah, I am gonna do
No,
that.
you know what? I'm going to do one on Friday too. Then how about that?
Just make sure it's not at the same time.
No,
Please
same
just
time.
not.
Drowning you out, pal.
Beautiful. But no, this is sick because then I'll just do my slip for the contest on the show. Which
There
is
we go.
beautiful. And people can sign up for it. All right. So the last thing then, make sure you sign up for that. The link to that is going to be, if you're listening to this as a podcast, it's going to be in a link to the description of this podcast. If you're watching this on YouTube, scroll right down.
And remember to put it in the intro as well for the podcast, so people can find it down there.
Okay.
So they don't have to listen an hour into the show to figure this out. I meant to mention it earlier.
Correct. If you are listening to this as a podcast, then you could not listen to the last minute. You can have that minute of your life back. Last thing I wanted to do before we get out of here, I've got what I think are 2 very good NFL futures that can be bet wherever you are doing that at. And I have not done a future show yet. Maybe I'll do one next week, but I wanted to give you the floor to give your favorite, the Pat Mayo branded favorite NFL future for 2024.
I don't really have one, to tell you the truth. I haven't dug in enough. Like we're doing NFC. Well, by the time that people listen to this on my feed, the NFC show will already be out, so I'll actually have a concrete answer for this. But I try to do this in real time. The one that I found was like the T. Higgins over receiving yards just seems to be way off. It's like 400 yards below my projection for him, which might say something about my projections, but that number just does not jibe with what I see versus what the market sees.
What is it, like 850 yards?
It's like 750 yards.
Huh. Okay.
And I have him at like 1080 or something.
Well, that is very good. Yeah, I mean, that doesn't even jive because right now he is behind only Puka Nacua, Nico, DJ Moore. Like he's behind like 12 guys for most touchdowns. So that seems bad. That seems pretty bad. My 2 that I've already bet these are already in. Kenneth Walker, most rushing yards in the regular season. I think this market is way off. I think that some of the guys who are listed above him, like Zamir White, A-Chain, Jahmyr Gibbs, Pacheco, these guys are like drawing dead to lead the NFL in rushing because so much of their production is going to come receiving. Whereas Kenneth Walker, if he stays healthy for 17 games, I mean, I would maybe list him as like the sick, like I would have him like co-favorites with Derrick Henry, probably at like 10 to 15 to 1 around that for most rushing yards in the regular season. And this one is already gone, so don't bet it now. But if the day that JJ McCarthy got injured, if you got Sam Darnold to lead the league in passing yards, it was 100 to 1 on the DK Sportsbook. Maybe you still have it. Maybe there's a site out there that just doesn't have shit updated. Like sometimes you could be on like Stake or Bet Online or something where their numbers will just be giga stale. But Darnold to lead the NFL in passing yards, anything deeper than 75 to 1, I think is pretty good.
The sites don't make it easy to find these props, by the way.
No, I have learned this because I've spent some time in legal sports betting states the last couple weeks. You just have to search by player name. It's the only way to work. And you can't even do it on desktop. Like you're on your desktop right now.
Yeah, I am. I can't find the search bar.
You got to do it mobile. You have to do it. You have to do it on, like, the only way to bet on Justin Fields to start week 1 for the Steelers, you cannot find it on your computer. Like, it's literally unfindable. You have to do it on your phone. I mean, I'm sure someone smarter than me could find it, but I could not find it.
I mean, Bet365 just has a search bar at the top, which is very nice.
Which is very, very nice. Yeah.
Let's see. But they don't have his regular season MVP, T. Higgins, 125-1. There we go.
I would not bet that.
Yeah, but they don't have. Unfortunately, Bet365 doesn't love like season long like player props. That's more of a like pure American like FanDuel, DraftKings, Underdog style
Definitely.
thing. But they just have like most player 1,000+ receiving yards regular season is the closest that we can get. Plus 150 on that, and then over 1,250 is plus 550. I mean, if Chase gets hurt, he gets that, doesn't he? Over 1,250.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if Chase doesn't get hurt, he's what, 1,000 yards probably.
I mean, he has been over that every year of his career that he hasn't been injured. So it seems a bit crazy to me. All right, guys, I have got to run in 2 minutes. I'm going to go do the Dynasty Fantasy Football Today with Heath Cummings. Pat, tell the people where you want them to go after they listen to this.
Pat Mayo Experience, Mayo Media Network on YouTube. You can search that on Apple or the Mayo Media newsletter. We'll have a ton of stuff. 875.5 higher on Underdog T. Higgins season-long yards.
Ship it. That is what they call easy money. Get on Underdog Fantasy. Do your season-long props there. I've been firing them a little bit. I can't do them in Illinois, so I have to wait to go to. I fired some when I was in Oregon. Probably fire some for the rest of the season. Everyone, thank you very much for listening. Make sure to please like this video if you're watching on YouTube. Subscribe to this on YouTube if you're listening to this as a podcast. Just subscribe to it on YouTube to help me out. It's like I said, the YouTube views, they matter out here. Everyone, thank you very much. Make sure that you are subscribed to this and to the PME, and give your email to the Mayo Media Network newsletter. And I will see you guys later.